Hi, thanks for visiting Bills.com, and today we want to continue our series of addressing people's concerns from what we see on our Ask Bills sections. We get a lot of questions and comments through Ask Bills, and we want to maybe address some of those through this video and try to answer some questions a little bit more directly. So today, what we wanted to deal with was help with mortgage payments. If you read any newspaper or you've not lived under a rock for the last year and a half, you understand this is a big problem. A lot of people are struggling with their payments. The government has been in full force to try to deal with it. Lenders are in some capacity trying to deal with it, and of course homeowners, more than anything else, are really struggling with this. So we get a lot of questions, as you might imagine, related to people's specific instances, how to deal with mortgage payments when they do fall behind or when mortgage payments become overwhelming. So today I really want to talk specifically about, if you're in that situation, what to do. First point is, why are you struggling? You need to ask yourself why you're struggling. Of course, that's going to be personal for everybody, but clearly everybody's going to know why they specifically are struggling. For the most part, it's going to be loss of income, right? It's going to be a job loss. It's going to be a health issue. It's going to be a divorce. All these things that really force you to struggle with balancing your monthly checkbook are going to be forcing you to think about, hey, can I actually make my mortgage payment? And then the second one is really something not really related to struggling with your mortgage payments, but more about losing equity in your home. And you hear more and more about this in the national press about people that have negative equity or are underwater in their homes. In fact, they owe more than what their home is worth. There's talk from those folks about, hey, should I continue to make my mortgage payments? Okay, so I'll talk a little bit about that. Really what you want to do, if you are struggling with your payments or if you're considering struggling with your payments, you want to build your case. Okay, and the most important thing is to be very clear and honest with yourself and ultimately with your lender who you're going to present your case to. Sit down and write exactly, you've got to write a budget. You've got to write what your income is each month, what you spend, and what you spend it on. If you don't do that, you're nowhere. Your lender's not going to believe you, so you have to really write a very detailed budget. Okay. Then, before you take the next step and contact your lender, you really want to look hard at that budget and see if there are things that you can cut. Because ultimately, when you take it to your lender, they are going to look at that and they're going to say, well, hey, shoot, you could cut those 15 premium satellite channels. That would be a nice way to make your budget a little bit easier. So really evaluate that, take a look, see what you can do to cut it, see if it's as bad as it feels like it is, or maybe you've been spending money that you shouldn't be spending elsewhere, and you should be applying that to your mortgage payment. Again, your most important payment. So once you've built your case, you've kind of put together your story, and you've explained, hey, here's the situation I'm in, here's my budget, here's why I'm struggling. Okay, great. Contact your lender. Okay, call your lender. They all have groups set up right now to take your call. They've really, really, really been encouraged strongly by the federal government. Obviously, we all know the story about the federal government giving them TARP money, so there's a little bit of financial responsibility they have as well. They have been encouraged to work with homeowners to try to avoid foreclosures. Ultimately, we know what this ends up with. The bad part of this is if you struggle for too long, you're going to end up in foreclosure, and we really want to avoid that on a national level, of course, and certainly on an individual level. Contact your lender, show them your case, explain to them exactly what's going on. They will ask you the hard questions, okay? And they may have some forms for you to fill out, and if you've already built your case internally, you'll be able to respond to that very quickly. Okay, be very buttoned up about how you respond to them. Exactly, detail as much as you can every single income, every single source of income, and all of your expenses. Okay. If you don't have luck with your lender, you can contact Hope Now, and that's actually just as good. But you can reach them at hopenow.com, or there's an 800 number that you can get off the hopenow.com website. That's a group of servicers and lenders set up by the federal government, by the Housing and Urban Development Department, that has been put in place to help people that are in a situation where they're struggling with their payments to resolve that with their lender. Okay, so what you'll do with the Hope Now counselor is they will really do the same thing. They're going to take you back to square one, but it's a little bit of a hand. They'll walk you through kind of building your case and then help you contact your lender. With all this, if you're struggling, you really, really, really need to be persistent. That's the number one thing. Okay, we hear a lot of cases of people will say, hey, I've contacted my lender, but I was on hold for 30 minutes. Stay on hold for an hour, okay? This is a very important thing. The lenders are swamped. they're not making money by helping people, but they have been encouraged by the government to help people, so they do have an incentive to help people. You really need to be extremely persistent. You need to make your case solid, and you need to be persistent about getting in front of the lender and ultimately getting some type of relief, whether it's a reduction in payment, which is the most frequent event, or even a reduction in principal, less common, but has also been known to happen. Okay. Now to get back to the point I talked about earlier, if you are underwater and if you've been making your payments and you're considering, hey, should I maybe stop making my payments, something that is a very personal decision you need to think long and hard about. We've always considered, unless you have some type of income issue, some type of hardship issue, of course you pay your financial obligations. Okay. Now in some cases, values have dropped so low that people say, hey, it's just not worth it. I'm just basically throwing money out the door. That's an individual decision. But again, ultimately, if you plan on staying in your home, the most important payment you make each month is your mortgage payment. Okay, so hopefully it's been helpful, and feel free to come back and visit us again. We hope to see you soon.